This segment is brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
28-16, the final score as the Cowboys fall to the Arizona Cardinals in Week 3 of the 2023 season. Let's not waste any time. Let's get back out to State Farm Stadium and hear from head coach Mike McCarthy.
Ready?
Red zone struggles continue. Just can you talk about you didn't go for the field goal late in the third quarter, and just what's the problem with the red zone?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're not executing obviously the way we like to. I got to do a better job. Obviously, that starts with me. You know, they were playing us really, high in coverage. So that's why we were committing to the run, which I felt. We a lot of times we had to go the length of the field. We backed off in some shot plays and everything, but yeah, we need to do a better job in red zone.
What happened on the final interception?
Say again?
The final interception.
I mean, I can't give you clarity on what I'd see. I mean, it was the coverage. You're trying to get a one-on-one in the back of the end zone there, trying to isolate the Mike.
Mike Todd Archer with ESPN. The run defense, you said teams are always going to test you. Was today a case of?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it was clear from the start that they were going to test the middle of our run defense. So, yeah, I mean, it's something we gotta be better at, and we know that's going to be the challenge.
It was better the first 2 weeks, obviously, with part of that score of game, and teams couldn't run on it. Yeah,
I mean, hey, that's the challenge of this league. Every game is so unique, and to the specific matchups and so forth. This has been a rough week on a lot of fronts. I think the amount of adversity you go through your preparation process, and we didn't have enough today. We needed the discipline and the penalties. I mean, the numbers in the first half were obviously something that was difficult to deal with. And yeah, they scored 4 touchdowns. We had 1 touchdown, 3 field goals. That's the scoring component of it. But when you get into the situational stuff and how we feel teams are going to attack us, we have to learn from this, because I mean it's going to be an every week challenge. So.
Michael Kelkin, Dallas Morning News. Did you know when you got in the flight Saturday that you'd be without all 3 linemen, or when did you become aware?
Yeah, I was hopeful going into Saturday's practice, but when we walked off the field Saturday, that's kind of our final personnel meeting. So yes, when we got on the flight, we knew what the situation. We didn't know about Tyron. Tyron was a game day.
What had to change once you know that you're without 3?
Well, it changes. I mean, it changes a lot of things. But I'm proud of our young linemen. I tell you, I mean, they not only they stepped up and played today, but they did it on very little reps throughout the week. So I mean, it wasn't that's a challenge that everybody has. When you have injuries on Sunday, it's a you got a full week of prep to go into it. When you have things that are not clear till the end of the week, it's a challenge on the guys that have to step in there. And I thought all 3 of those guys did a nice job.
John Michaud, the Athletic, with the penalties, Mike, is there anything that you can clean up from it at halftime, or is it just?
Well, I mean, I obviously addressed it at halftime, John, but I have to look at it. I mean, it's we do a breakdown of every official group, and I told the team last night, you're going to be frustrated. Just certain crews, call it differently than others, and so we knew that coming in here, and that held very true in the first half. So we knew there were, that's just the history. It's part of the game. I mean, everything's evaluated. Everything's part of your preparation. Well, I mean, I think it's obvious. I don't want to discredit those guys at all, but I mean, there's reps that go into wrinkles, your variation of your base concepts, whether protection and so yeah, there's some things that were taken off, but I'll tell you, like I said, I'm proud of I'm proud of those guys that they stepped up and did what was asked of them.
Secondly, do you think the defense felt too good about themselves in the first 2 games, and they came here with a little less intensity?
I don't think, not after the week we had. I think that'd have been fair. We had a lot going on as a team this week, and so we didn't play our best game, that's for sure.
To lose this game in this fashion on the road, but you're still 2-1. What's your message to the guys to keep their eyes forward for New England?
Well, I'm just honest and real. And I addressed the game, what my thoughts on the game, and the reality of where we are. We're 2-1. Yeah, we're going to fully expect to win every week. So I mean, this obviously we're disappointed. We're disappointed that we're leaving here without a win. But this is part of the journey. It's part of the humbling component of the National Football League. So just like anything, every experience gives you an opportunity to grow. So we need to grow from this experience.
Mike mentioned the challenge of the preparation week, obviously with Trayvon, with some of the O-line injuries. I don't know if there's anything else to which you're referencing there, but what goes into, as a team, responding to, or just dealing with those sort of things that pop up over late in the week?
Well, the biggest thing in this league is, sustaining success, and that can be from one play to the next, from one series to the next, from 1 week to the next. So, and I think you saw that in the first half. When you're getting stops on defense, and when you're scoring touchdowns, I mean, there's a flow to it, and you could see early, as far as how they were playing us on defense, we were going to have to go the long way, which is fine. But we got to score. We score touchdowns. We may be still out there playing in overtime.
A couple players on offense, Gallup and Rico getting his first touchdown. Can you touch upon both those guys in the night they had?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can see those guys work every day. So, I mean, I get what the numbers were, last week. And, Rico, I've always loved his run style. He runs angry. I mean, just look at the play he had there in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, it's no surprise, so it was good to get those guys some touches.
How would you say Dak's game outside of the interception?
I thought he managed the game very well. I thought he managed all the adjustments that we made, from yesterday to today. And I thought his demeanor, command, I thought it was productive. I thought he played very well with his feet. His play, the extension of plays, I thought was definitely a positive today. So they were playing them heavy coverage in the red area, and we got to take a close look at it, and that starts with me.
Do you need more from him in games like that when the defense need him to do?
Well, I think he did what was asked of him. I mean, that's, there's plays we can pick apart, and we had some big plays go back against us too. So, big player on us, and that's usually how these games go. I mean, that's this league. You got to get the production and big plays factor each and every week.
The 10 penalties in the first half.
Yep.
Some of those were pre-snap. There's also was a late call on defensive pass interference that Gallup seemed to drew, and it was overturned. I know we were asking a little bit about penalties, but maybe visiting those two areas.
I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to speak on it, but I'm not going to. So, thank you.
You're welcome. All righty.
Of course, some disappointment in the voice of Mike McCarthy following a 28-16 loss to Arizona in Week 3. When we come back, we hear from Isaiah Stanback and Nate Newton reacting to Mike McCarthy and what he had to say on the Cowboys' loss.
This segment was brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
Welcome back into Cowboys OT with Nate Newton and Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Gentlemen, we just heard from Mike McCarthy a couple moments prior out at State Farm Stadium. This is one of those things where 2 weeks into this, we said it was 2 team wins for the Cowboys. Complementary football, offense, defense, special teams, winning both in Week 1 and in Week 2, similar fashions. You can say it's a similar fashion, but the opposite way. This was a team loss for the Cowboys, 28-16 against Arizona. Nate, I'll start with you. What did you have to think about what Mike had to say up at the podium?
Yeah, it was all about the big plays for me, though. I mean, I know what Coach said they made one more play than they did, but it was about the big plays. It was about, going into the red zone and being 1 for 5. I mean, you could have squashed that. You can't come away with 3. This team is too good. I think they have 2 good complementary receivers. They got good running backs, so they should never go into the red zone and not come out of there 100%. Giving up 3 points to 6 is not the answer.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, you talk about the red zone, you talk about the inability to be able to convert on those things. Holistically as a team, all right, to what Kyle's point, I think 2/3 of this game were not taken care of. I think the special teams were. I think Aubrey and the rest of the cover teams, they did a good job. When you look at the offense did not convert in the red zone. When you flip it over to the defense, they give up 222 yards on the ground. Oh, and by the way, they let Josh Dobbs throw for 81% completion. So those are some things that they definitely have to tighten up. You can make all the excuses in the world that, hey, we're missing 3 of our offensive linemen, our best cornerback is out, but at the end of the
front and based off of the performance we saw today?
I've been concerned about the offensive line since the offseason. I think Ned and I have both been on the same page about that. I don't believe that they addressed that. They chose not to address that with their top pick this year. They chose to go interior defensive lineman to try to shore up that aspect of their defense. Well, it appears that didn't work either.
It's 2 things we were hoping to get accomplished this offseason. Let's go out and find us a quality backup lineman. I think they got quality guys, just wasn't good enough today, wasn't physical enough today as a unit. And we're going to have to expect a little bit more from our first-round pick. I understand, son, that it takes time, but you got to come on because we need that help.
Yeah, Mozzie Smith in the defense. I mean, this run defense gave up 222 yards, as Isaiah spoke to a couple moments ago. That would have been the second worst outing from a run defense last year in terms of this Cowboys team. So it would have been the second worst among a team that struggled in stopping the run a year ago. They had made some investments, and it didn't necessarily work out, at least in this one in week 3 of the 2023 season. When we come back, though, we talk to Dak Prescott. We have him at the podium out at State Farm Stadium, and we react about what QB1 did this week. Dak Prescott finishes 25 of 40 passing, 249 yards. He did have a touchdown, but he also had his first interception thrown of the 2023 season. Let's hear from Dak at the podium in Arizona.
Hey, Dak, Patrick Wolf, DallasCowboys.com. Can you walk us through the final Cowboys drive and what you saw, what you didn't see as far as how that went?
Yeah, we just didn't score. Simple as that. Took a shot at the end zone. I got to get that throw out there in front of MG. Thought we got the call. Obviously, the refs got together, didn't give it to us, and then just from there, I got to make that third down throw. I got to make the throw some way, put it over him, maybe just scramble, not go there with it. But felt like we needed to play there, try to put it past the backers there. He made a great catch.
Quick follow-up on that penalty. Talk a little bit about the challenge of having to try to overcome as many penalties as was thrown against you guys, especially on the road.
Yeah, it was tough. As you just put it, the penalties plus being on the roads are never easy. Dug ourselves into some holes on some different drives. We're able to overcome some of them. But even when you're able to overcome them, I think that's just you're making it harder on yourself and you're taking yourself out of that rhythm. And it was tough. And obviously we couldn't overcome it and didn't come away with what we wanted to.
Nick Harris, DallasCowboys.com. What's kind of your perspective on the red zone struggles as far as getting into the end zone?
Yeah, we've got to do better. Just as a team, as a unit, myself, got to make some throws, maybe use my feet more. Obviously, that's an area that we haven't been good in these last 2 weeks. And even with the win last week, that was the sore spot in the win. And obviously, look at this loss. Moved the ball up and down the field and just couldn't score. And so that's your reason for this loss. And so we've all got to get back to the drawing board. Starts with me and making some throws and making some plays, as I said, with my feet and trying to get it done.
On the final interception, what happened there? What did you see and what was supposed to happen there, obviously?
Yeah, Cook says boom, boom, getting back behind the backer. Backer did a good job of playing it, tried to look him away and then just put it by his ear. I knew it was going to be a tough throw. At that moment, tried to make the throw. Obviously, the backer made a great play. Just tried to put it behind his ear, not thinking I had enough space to just get it up and down in the back. But, I got to live with that.
Michael Gelkin, Dallas Morning News. Mike mentioned that once you guys knew what the situation was on the O-line, night changes, morning changes to things. He thought you handled it really well. How much changed? Like, what was different from the original plan?
Yeah, just adding a few more quick games, getting the ball out of my hands, some movements, just trying obviously to protect those guys as well. You know what I mean? Not put them in a situation where we're just dropping back over and over. But yeah, I mean, and that's just benefits to our playmakers as well. Just trying to get the ball in their hands.
How did you feel those three guys, two of them making their first NFL starts?
Yeah, they fought their ass off. I thought they did a great job. Gave me enough time, allowed us to, as I said, move the ball up and down the field, and we didn't convert in the red zone. That's the story of this game, period.
Dax Saunders, The Athletic. You haven't thrown a touchdown yet to a receiver this season. Is there anything to that? I mean, what do you see as the reason for that?
Just hadn't done it. You can go to the one of Michael Gallup. I've got to make that throw, get it out there in front of him a little bit earlier. The one to CD's close. Would like the call or like CD, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, would like to get the call on that one as well. But, yeah, I mean, we're taking attempts. We've just got to convert. Simple as that. I mean, simple as that. Don't have an answer for you.
Okay. First game, 40-0. Second game, 30-10. You, the coaching staff, are keen on remaining even keel, not getting too high, not getting too low. Talk about the message coming out of a game like this to refocus and reset for the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, we're staying in the moment. That's who we are. That's who this team is. This was a humbling loss in that sense. Obviously, we've had a lot of adversity just throughout the week. And it wasn't easy. Obviously, it wasn't easy. Nobody's making excuses. We thought we had a great opportunity to come in here, even with the adversity, and get a win, and we didn't. So, obviously, every week you've got to reset and you've got to refocus. And honestly, it's a little bit easier after a loss. So there's not going to be any worries about that. Obviously, myself, the coaching staff, the players, the way that we attack the preparation and out there, try to get it out in front of them. But hell, I mean, Michael had the best, MG had the best perspective of that throw and what that was and how the defender played it. But when the guy's back's turned to me and he never looks back, I mean, it's simple as that.
Was this a wake-up call for you guys? You guys were on top of the world the first two games. You know, everybody's singing your praises. You know,
y'all put us on top of the world. We know who we are, and in that same sense, I'm sure the media got what they wanted. For us, it hadn't been but one undefeated team in this league, ever. So, yeah, it sucks. It's humbling, but to say it's a wake-up call, we knew we had a lot of adversity, and we just didn't get it done. And I think it just goes back to myself, the offense, and the red zone. So, I mean, we get better at there, we win this game, but we've got to fix that area, period.
Dak taking responsibility on the red zone struggles and also some of the penalty struggles that this Cowboys team endured in Week 3 in their loss 28-16 to Arizona. When we come back, Barry Church and Isaiah Stanback turn things around and look at Dak Prescott and how he performed in this Week 3 loss. Some of the offensive stats for the Cowboys in their 28-16 loss to the Arizona Cardinals. 26 first downs, that's a nice number, 400 yards plus. I mean, that looks pretty good. But then you work all the way down in terms of times of possession. Everything here looks okay, but you just could not convert in the red zone. There is no red zone category here, and that's really the biggest concern, I think, for this Dallas team. As we welcome you back in to Cowboys OT, we've got Barry Church, we've got Izzy Stanback. I don't know what I was trying to call you going into that last segment, but whatever. Let's have some fun. I mean, Cowboys lose this one 28-16. Isaiah, I'll let you start. Based off of what you just heard from Dak Prescott, he took responsibility. He did. He stepped up to the podium, said, hey, penalties were there. Red zone struggles were there. That's got to be overcome. What did you think about his performance and where he ranks on the list? Because there's plenty to blame, but where does he land?
I think he was accurate in his assessment of himself. I think Dak, for the most part, is always pretty truthful about that whether he has a good game or a bad game. There were some passes that he wished he had back. That's the truth. There were some not acceptable by any means. We were complaining last week when they were just beneath 50%. So those are all things that have to be shored up. I know he's still getting his feet underneath him and working on his footing in this new system and all those things. And he doesn't want to hear the excuses. Nobody else wants to hear the excuses either. At the end of the day, to his credit, they have to shore these things up regardless of what adversities they have to overcome.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, when you look at Dak Prescott, I think he hit on everything about this game because they were able to move the football up and down the field against the Arizona defense. I mean, you don't get 416 total yards by being inept on the offensive side of the ball. So they were able to move the ball. Third down looked impressive to me, 9-16. That's 56%. You can win with those type of numbers. But when it comes down to this offense, I think they got away from what got them here in the first place. And they went to the passing side of the football. We talked about it earlier in the pregame. When you get outside of yourself and start playing, the system in the game that you didn't have coming into this game, you threw the ball 40 times. I mean, that's a little bit too much when you talk about playing to your defense. Now, granted, the defense did not play well this afternoon, but you got to stick within the game plan. And I think that they didn't get down to the game plan to where they wanted to, and it showed itself today with only 16 points. The red zone, you hit on it. I mean, you got to be more efficient in the red zone. That's where you get away with some type of points. When you went forward on fourth down, you went away with no points there, and that cost this team in the long run. So hopefully they will be able to regroup and get out there next week and improve on this showing.
Is there any plain and simple answer to the red zone problems, or is it a multitude of things? I mean, your receivers still don't have a touchdown grab this season. No receiver has a touchdown grab. The only passing touchdown scored in this one was to Rico Dowdle. Yeah. So it's the two tight ends, Rico Dowdle being the third guy. So now with that being said, is it the ground game that's struggling the most in the red zone? Is it the creativity on offense, passing game? Where do you start whenever you look at those struggles?
I think it has to do a little bit with the creativity because when you look at it, they're getting down the field easily. I mean, they're spreading the defense out. They're doing what they need to do at will. But when you get into that red zone, things happen quick. Yep. Things happen extremely fast. So it comes down to decision making, where you want to put this ball. And if that decision is not there for you, then what do you do? So to me, they got to become better decision makers when you get down to the red zone because things happen entirely too fast.
I truly believe that a lot of it comes down to their ability or inability currently to run the ball in the red zone. Mm-hmm. Because you have Dak Prescott as your quarterback. What do we know about Dak? What does he love to do? Play action. Mm-hmm. That's what he is. He's a play action quarterback. He can do other things. He can drop back and throw the ball. But the last thing you want Dak doing is, we said this in week 1, is throwing the ball 40 times a game. So when you can run the ball, you have the threat of that, right? You have to be able to defend that. And when you're defending that, then all of a sudden your defensive ends and everybody else is crashing down, which allows Dak to now get outside. And now you open up your options. You have a run-pass threat from him being out on the edge. When you don't have the effective running game down in the red zone, you negate his best ability. You take away his greatest strength that he has, and you now put him in a situation where he has to throw the ball, like you saw there at the end of the game, where he's trying to throw the ball behind the ear of one defender. Even if that defender didn't pick it off, there's 2 other guys that probably at least would have got their hands on it.
Yeah. So with that being said, this Cowboys team miss Ezekiel Elliott.
I don't think it's a Zeke thing.
Just straight Zeke?
I don't think it's a Zeke thing. I think personnel-wise, they're perfectly fine. Okay. Rico Dowdle's going downhill. Tony Pollard's obviously being effective on the ground. Nobody else is really utilized today. Hunter Lipke, shout out to him. He's been showing up in a big way for this team in terms of the blocking scheme. But I really think it comes down to whatever running scheme they have in that part of the field. Obviously, you heard Barry just talk about how things they happen quickly. Well, the reason why they happen so quick is because the numbers are now consolidated. Now, instead of having 22 guys spread out all over the place, now you got 22 guys in one little room, and things happen quickly because guys are shooting gaps. You have to be able to move that offensive line and take that defensive line, move those guys back across the back line, and be able to hit some seams. If you can't create seams, you're going to have tackles for no gain or either for loss.
So you feel okay with the personnel as a whole. It's just the way that personnel is utilized for the most part. That's kind of where we feel in terms of this offense and some of the red zone struggles. It's early in the season. Oh, yeah. Mike McCarthy's still getting back into a groove as a play caller. I think there are times that he's shown good, solid things. There was a couple drives where they marched down the field, and there are definitely positives, but it's the consistency that's been missing, at least in this occasion. You want to add something real quick?
I was going to say, I think that most really successful teams, and you could probably go back to the time when Nate was playing, you want to be able to play bully ball in the red zone.
Yes.
You want to be able to line up. I don't care if you know I'm in 13 personnel. I don't care if you know I'm in 12 personnel. We're coming right downhill, try to stop us, right? Because my offensive line is that dominant. My tight ends are contributing to the run blocking, and we're simply just going to move you off the ball. And you're going to be so uber focused in on what we're trying to do running wise that you're going to say the heck with everything else. So I think that's what they want to get to, but they have to have the linemen to do it.
Yeah. Got to find a way to do it. Got to be physical. This defense needs to find a way to be physical as well. Probably the biggest storyline in the loss was the collapse of the Dallas defense. When we come back, we talk that side of the football, what went wrong for Dan Quinn's unit. A historic start, a disappointing week 3. Welcome back into Cowboys OT from the Star in Frisco. As we take a look at some of the defensive stats in this one. 2 sacks, including 1 for Micah Parsons. He's up to 4 on the season. The pressures were certainly there, but for the first time this season, the Cowboys defense does not have a takeaway. They did not have an interception, did not recover a fumble. They only had 1 pass defended. Maybe the Trayvon Diggs effect now out of this Cowboys defense, but there are a couple things I think you could take a look at. We're back here with Barry Church, Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Continuing to break down the Cowboys' 28-16 loss to the Arizona Cardinals. Barry, I'll start with our resident defender. What were your thoughts on the defense? I mean, we've talked about the run defense and how it struggled, but the secondary was certainly tested as well.
Yeah, this was, I think this was a disappointing outing overall for the defense when you talk about it, because when you look at it, we already talked about the run game and how they got gashed up there. But defensively, you look at the secondary out there, it just didn't look like they gelled as a unit, or they all just, it just kind of seemed like there was a lot of busted plays. You talked about the Jordan Lewis play where he was playing cover 3 and the rest of the secondary was playing cover 1, and that's how you get those big time plays, those big chunk plays out there. But when you talk about the corner on the outside, Bland, I mean, he's used to playing inside where things happen extremely quick. He can have his eyes on the quarterback and still get back to his receiver. But when you get to that island, when you're on the outside of those numbers, it's a whole different ball game. You got to make sure you are strapped and glued to your wide receiver. And there was too many points in this game where he looked lost out there as a whole. The defense looked lost as a whole as well. And I got to get a lot of credit to Joshua Dobbs. This is a guy who last year came in here, showed no fear when he was with Tennessee, and he did the same thing this week against the Dallas Cowboys. He didn't look flustered out there. He understood that rush, that speed that's going to come at him, and he was able to, I'm not going to say pick apart this secondary, but he was able to make a lot of big-time plays out there. And I also got to give credit to, was it the head coach now, Gannon over there? Yes. Came from Philadelphia, so he understands what this Dallas defense is all about and the ins and outs, and he was able to put together a game plan. And Joshua Dobbs and this Arizona offense, they executed it to perfection today.
And when you look at it, they gave him multiple looks. We never thought Rondale Moore would be in the backfield, number 4, the wide receiver.
That's huge.
Burner, they gave him that look. They gave him quick tosses. They gave him a draw play up the middle that he took, 60-something yards or 80-something yards. So when you look at that right there, we wasn't tackling well. I was thinking Curse and all of these guys would come up, Wilson, all these guys would come up and tackle well. We did not tackle well. Our linebackers probably played their worst game of the year. Only it's been 3 games, but Clark wasn't tackling well. Leighton wasn't tackling well due to the fact that they were able, as offensive linemen, to get up on the second level. They were moving our guys, Hankins off the ball. They were moving all the guys, Osa off the ball. And when you get a guard center or a tackle guard moving off the ball, all I'm doing is I'm going with the flow. And then if you come play side, then I come off. If you come backside, the center comes off. And they would be able to, either way that our linebackers went, by them moving us off the ball, they were able to pick these guys off and pick them off just enough. In this league, you don't need but just a 6-inch gap, and you're going to the house. And that's what happened, not once, but twice, 3 times, 4. And then Connors is the heart of this thing. I mean, he was coming downhill, and he was talking noise. I mean, when you can get up, I'm telling you, Kyle, it's disheartening when you say, hey, man, we running the ball. We need to eat up some clock. Our defense has been under that, and we run the ball, and I get up, my running back get up, muscling up on me, man. As a linebacker, you're looking like, wow. And you're looking at your big guys up front. Jonathan Hanks, you're looking at Mazda, you're looking at Osa saying, hey, big fella, where you at? You need to not only defeat your block, but you need to come off and to get something on this guy so I can come up and deliver a lick. We said it earlier. These guys were tackling. But they weren't tackling with no force. They was not coming down. A linebacker does not like to shuffle. Yeah. He likes to shuffle and come downhill. And now we're missing Diggs on one side. Now our safeties are trying to cover for the boys in the backfield. So now they ain't coming down hill laying leather. The day they was coming, just trying to figure their way through, and you can't do that.
Well, it's really been the defense that set the tone the first 2 weeks, and when the defense didn't do that today, it kind of set the precedent for the rest of the game, and that's what it looked like. The defense did not get home the way that they normally have, and that affected the linebackers. That, of course, affected the secondary. It certainly affected the entirety of what this one looked like against Arizona. When we come back, one of the bright spots in the loss to the Cardinals was the running game of Tony Pollard. Cowboys got the ground game going. He had 122 yards. We hear from TP next. Tony Pollard finished with 23 carries, 122 yards on the ground, but he continued to work his way into more and more touches for this Mike McCarthy-led offense. Let's hear from Tony Pollard in the locker room following the loss to Arizona.
I mean, 1 of 5 in the red zone, 2 of 6 last week. What do you think the issue was?
We just got to be better. Got to get back in the lab, get back to work.
How difficult was it, considering you have 3 starters on
I mean, it was a little tough, but, that's football. That's the game we play. Guys go down, guys get banged up. You got to be able to adapt, and we didn't do that today.
As good as things were the first 2 weeks, how surprised that this happened today?
I mean, it's the NFL. Every team, anybody can win each week. So you got to come in, respect your opponents. They did a good job preparing this week, and they came out with the dub.
How tough was it to operate with 3 years starting offensive linemen being down?
I mean, it was tough, but we're prepared for those type moments. Just communicating. Getting guys rotated in practice, so it's not like just a big, culture shock just being out there for the first time. So we did a good job. I feel like adapting on the fly, but could have been a little better.
Tony, you guys have done well over the first 2 weeks with penalties, not getting those penalties, not committing those. Talk about the challenge of having to overcome so many, and especially on the road.
Yeah, we got to be more disciplined. It's hard to beat teams when you beat yourself like that with so many penalties, and we just got to be better.
What's the mindset in the locker room right now? The shock? Is it what?
I mean, it's one game. The same way if we won this game, that's one game and on to the next one. Unfortunately, we couldn't win, but we got to get back to work next week.
How difficult is it when you're playing behind like you guys were today and just continue to trying to play catch up?
It makes it a little different, a little difficult calling the plays, not being able to call certain plays that you want. But, like I said, we got to be better and make it work.
So there were a couple times throughout the loss that the Dallas offense was able to march down the field. We've already talked about the red zone struggles, but it's good to see that the West Coast principles are coming to fruition at certain times throughout a game.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing a good job of moving the ball down the field. Right? We've talked about that extensively on this show so far, but, it really just comes down to the red zone. And you've seen those struggles over the past few weeks. It isn't like this is the first appearance, and I think that's the reason why it's a topic of discussion. But we talk about 20% conversion, 1 for 5 in the red zone. You don't want to have to use your kicker unless it's extra points. That's your goal as an offensive player, all right? Former receiver, quarterback, whatever else they want to throw me at, right? You want to end in the end zone, okay? And I can know the big fella right here hates kickers, and that's not the guy that you want to call on the field so that you get off.
This is the bottom line. This is only the 3rd game. It's some kinks got to be worked out. The first 2 games, we couldn't stop bragging and talking, and we brought up a little bit last week about the red zone. Now it is an issue because you do need to get into the end zone more with 6 instead of 3. It is not the end of the world, people. Believe me when I tell you that.
Yeah, it's certainly something to work on moving forward. Yes. But for the most part, I mean, this is a team that it looked like they were making an effort to get Tony Pollard involved. Looked like they were making an effort to get the ball to CeeDee Lamb early, maybe not as often as they probably should have. And they got Michael Gallup going a little bit in this one. So good positive things to take out of it. What do you feel like is the thing they need to do?
You don't want to do is have Dak Prescott throwing the ball 40 times a game. Yeah. That is not the recipe for success. And that's no disrespect to Dak, but everybody has their limitations. That's not his strong suit. His strong suit is playing off of the run. And when you have an effective running game, then you get the best version of Dak and the most threatening version of Dak because now you have the play action. Now he has the crossing routes. Now he can throw it over the top of the coverage. When he doesn't have that, all of a sudden his passing percentage, his completion rate goes from 71% from the first 2 games this year all the way down to 66% in this game where he's now throwing 25 for 40. It's not what you want. It's not Dak's game. You have to get back to what you do best. That's running the ball, quick passing game, convert first downs.
When you're in the red zone, it's called load left. 2 tight ends, full offensive line, fullback, tailback. Go right or left, right off the guard, and let it happen. You got 2 nice guards, use them. It's called load left or load right. We made a living on it, baby. Went straight to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, certainly did. Yeah. You went to 3 of them and won 3 of them as well. Right. So, I mean, for the most part, Nate has seen it. He's done it before. When we come back, we're going to close the book on this one, okay? We're going to put this one aside. We're going to look ahead to week 4 of the NFL season. He's going to close the MacBook or whatever that is. I don't even know what it is. When we come back here on Cowboys OT.
The Cowboys OT was brought to you by Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and by Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today.
State Farm Stadium not kind to the Dallas Cowboys here in 2023. A Week 3 loss, the first loss for the Cowboys as they fall to 2-1. 28-16, the final score from Glendale, Arizona. We're back here from the Star in Frisco, Texas in the Globe Life Studios. Barry Church, Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback, of Kyle Yeomans. All right, looking ahead to Week 4, the Patriots come to town. You get a little bit of a reunion with Ezekiel Elliott, which will be fun. Will Greer is the backup quarterback there, too. Just thought I'd throw that out there. But there's a Patriots team coming off of a big win this week, a divisional win against the Jets. What do you want to see the Cowboys get to first this week in practice, other than staying healthy in practice?
Okay, about to say, because number one, you got to stay healthy and get those offensive linemen back into the fold. But defensively, you know Bill Belichick, he's going to have a game plan ready to take away what the Cowboys do best. And so far, it's been getting the ball in the passing game. Get that going a little bit more often, because we know Bill Belichick's going to come in, take away what you love to do best, and force you to hit your second and third options out there. They need to get that on offensively.
Quickly, be physical and pay attention to details, especially in the red zone and short yardage situations.
I think you got to figure out this defense, the secondary, because one thing that they're doing really well right now out there in New England is throwing the mess out the ball. As much as Bill Belichick likes to run the ball, right now, Mac Jones and those guys are tossing that thing around. So Deron Bland, Gilmore, right, J. Lou, y'all need to have a little team meeting and figure out exactly what's going on in the secondary, because they're going to test you this week.
All right, out of the guys that are able to come back from injury this week, like on the offensive line and guys that are banged up, who would you most like to see back on the field in Week 4?
It's got to be Big 77. It's got to be Tyron. I mean, nothing against 71 was his last name again, I'm sorry.
Chuma Edoga.
Edoga, nothing against him, but he struggled mightily this afternoon, giving up a lot of pressures on Dak Prescott. We need number 77 back in the fold, and hopefully he can come next week.
The Butcher, Zach Martin. Come on back, baby. The Butcher.
I hope our mics were ready for that one. What about you, Isaiah?
I'm going to double down on Zach Martin.
Okay.
I think Zach Martin's really the heart and soul of this offensive line, and I think when he's vacant, everybody else looks lost.
Yeah, big time week for the Dallas Cowboys. Looking to rebound in this one because, hey, it wasn't pretty in Week 3. We all see that. Cowboys know that as well. Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott going to have to get back on the same page. Same thing with that defense. For Barry, Nate, Isaiah, and our entire Dallas Cowboys crew, that's it for Cowboys OT. We'll see you next week.
Cowboys OT is brought to you by
Go Cowboys!
setting up this 2-yard pitch and catch for a huge score for Arizona, pushing their lead back to 2 possessions.
Go Cowboys!
For an extra 2-3 yards. And that's something we did not see the first 2 weeks of the regular season. Those guys were coming downhill.
Go Cowboys!
And to me, I got to go right back to the defensive side of the football because that was supposed to be the strength. That's what's supposed to be the unit.